Hello, and God bless you. We're going back in time today. I bet you thought I was a great Gatsby, one of those gals without the dirt. But today we're going to do a show called Those Were the Days, My Friend. We have two special guests. I'm going to introduce them both, but I just want to say that the show, when you look for it on the YouTube under Ellen Mongan, it's me called Wisdom from the Old Lady, which is my mom, Eleanor Manfredi. She's going to introduce herself second, but first, my good friend, June Council. Hey, June. We call her June the Wise Council. Hey, June, how you doing?
Call me, but I'm not sure.
I think I'm back. It's hot upstairs. It's hot, Mom. So, what do you think, June? Can you introduce yourself to everyone? So I feel like I know her. I've known her a long time.
I am June Council. I have 4 children, five grandchildren. Grandchildren are wonderful, and I'm in the process of going to have a great grandchild. Maybe December, January. They're twins. It's two little girls. So I'm very excited about that. You know, at my age, I should be unhappy being a great grandmother, but I'm not. I am thrilled. I am the perfect age of 7. I'm 77, and I'm thrilled about all of life.
That's so great, June. We always talked about having, June and I did co-host this show many years ago. We talked about having a show. We have different ages and stages of life, and everybody gives their wisdom. So we thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to have my mom's show. She comes on once in a blue moon, and she's Eleanor Manfredi. Do you want to say something about yourself? Wisdom from the old lady.
Eleanor Manfredi, 96 years old.
Applause.
And I used to own a catering business and worked very hard, loved doing it.
Yeah.
I worked till I was 80, and I can't remember how many grandchildren I have, but almost 30 grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
And anyway, we have a good time together, and I'm moving to Augusta and plan to see more of my grandchildren than I have been. And I'm staying with Ellen and Pat, but I plan to go to not assisted living, but elderly people.
That's what you're doing, I think it's called, but it's okay. We told her that she may like it, she may not. You never know. You gotta try something. You always try, and then everything is for a season. We love a time for every season. Today we have some subjects, Mom. We're all gonna join in like a little 3-way conversation, and then I'm gonna let June start us off. What do you think about back in time, the years of when women were ladies and men were dashing?
You know, that is you told me that I was going to love your mom. And I just need to say that you were so right. I loved talking to her. And we, she has so many neat things that she remembers, that she misses, and I miss them too. I miss the ladies sitting around the table when I was young and talking back and forth and sharing recipes, just being women. And we miss that now, and that's something that that I'd love to see come back. That is that, and when I have a conversation with Eleanor begins to share from her heart, and we talk back and forth like best friends. And that is so neat. That art has been lost. That has been lost. And so that's what I want to say first.
Well, I was to say, you see my coffee clutch out there. My coffee cup, and that's not because I was doing a prompting. Pat is going to come here and say I forgot my coffee and cherry pie. I think it is. I don't know. So it's usually there's nothing on that table, but I agree. Person to person instead of like texting or computer. And I sent you a note. I'm on old fashioned, even notes in the mail. Mom, what do you think about those days? Those were the days when you had.
Those were the days where the women didn't work and we didn't have cars. And we would do our housework and then get together and have coffee every single morning and talk about recipes and just talk about anything, problems or anything that went on during the day. And then we'd all have dinner together. And the meals were big. I mean, it was potatoes and meat and vegetables and salad, desserts. And we all gathered around the table and talked. And today everybody's in a hurry. And the young women I know don't like to cook, don't want to cook. And I asked the couple what they did, and then a lot of them said they ate a bowl of cereal or had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and that was their meal. And everybody's in a hurry. And I miss the old days where we could sit around and talk about problems and children. I miss that.
What about you, June? What do you have? You have some of that. Sometimes we have meals. When Pat and I are alone, we usually have extra people in our home. Like we had Tal and Tomoko, and we had Josh, and then we had Bob, and some's all together. And we used to go out to lunch together, and we'd be full enough that dinner would be just like cheese and crackers. So after Mom being here, I see that she doesn't do well with lunch and then just cheese and crackers. So we're not going to go to lunch. We'll go to dinner, because dinner is usually a meal. Like last night we had a casserole, which is rare in my house because I'm not a casserole cook. But what do you do at your home? Because you have Claude and you have children float in and out that are adult children like me.
I have some fun things that I like to do
Okay.
with the family.
Okay.
And I also like to do little things where I teach my grandchildren how to cook, little things where they come and we have like specialty things. I know that when Angela was little, my first grandchild, I used to make green eggs and ham for her because of the books that talked about that.
I like still.
To me, family meals are where you sit and you become a family. You hear about what happened, and I think that because of so many things in our lives now, time has been, we don't have enough time to do it like we should. And so I do it not all the time. I know when all my children were gone and they all went to college, my husband and my children were all hyper and like he and I are, and we had to eat out because there wasn't any noise. We didn't know, you know what I'm saying? There was no noise.
I like the no noise policy, dude. I like the no noise, you know what I mean? But that's good though. And then you went out and it saved time, it saved dishes.
Right. And
we do that most when it's just us, but right now we have, family time we can. Do you do Sunday dinner, June?
I do Sunday dinner. I do coming back home and us taking care of him. I do a lot of cooking. Matthew is an amazing big eater. So yes, I do the large pieces of meat in that. I love my Instapot. I love my air fryer, and I love my pressure cooker, and I can get things done quick, So yes, I do that.
Pat loves gadgets too. I said, I gave the kitchen to be one of his rooms. We divide the house, say, I'm in charge of this room. And he likes to buy gadgets too. I don't know. I always cooked the old fashioned way until I got older and we had retirement. Suppose we were on retirement, but not usually we do retire. But when I got to Florida, the first time we began eating now. Before that, I had like 15 people at dinner because my kids, we were the welcoming home where anybody was welcome to eat at the table. And if they're at my home, they ate, because a lot of the moms didn't cook homemade meals. In those days, they were young mothers that couldn't swing it. So I had each kid take a chore. One would cook with me, and one would clean, one would hold the baby because I always had a baby, and one would maybe set the table. And you can't imagine how much they talk about. They did chores and they complained it was way too hard. I'm like setting the table. Wait, I'm going to tell you, because kids think things are big when they're little. And I did that for 40 years, or maybe 45, and now I'm married to Deacon Pat 48 years, and we kind of took a break from doing the big meals because of that. When I cook, I do cook. Last time was unusual, but when your big thing is eating and TV, then it's kind of sad to be around someone that goes like, man, is she cooking tonight for me? So I told Mom to pick 5 things she likes to eat. Because my kids would always do that. If they didn't like the dinner or they were hungry, they had things they could put in their mouth that they could eat. But tell me this, June, what about TV then? Because that's the other thing she likes a lot, TV. At her age, she always liked TV though.
Well, now I don't care as much for TV now, but my husband watches 24/7, and that's how he wants me to be sitting with him watching TV. So I do TV, and I'll get it. I do the binge watching with some of when you can get all of the shows at one time, then you can watch them one right after the other and catch up.
Tell me what anything has changed though, June, from those were the days to now. Like, how has TV changed? Mom has some good points on this too.
Okay, so let's talk about my first TV. My first TV had a big, thick magnifying glass on it and sat right in front of the TV. Remember that, Eleanor?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
In front of the TV, and then we started getting. This was what I loved, and I hope you did too. I think you did too, Eleanor. The purity in the shows.
Oh God, yes.
Were so nice that, I mean, back then you felt so safe.
You would let your children watch it. I never watched TV that much.
Yeah.
I watch old movies for that reason. And I just got through watching this very good movie with Humphrey Bogart and Edward. I forgot that short guy. Such a good movie with good actors and a good story. I don't watch the new shows anymore. I mean, one swear word and I changed the channel.
But you also like, Mom, you like sitcoms a lot, like the good ones. Like her favorite was, at least used to be, Everyone Loves Raymond, because it kind of is clean and it's funny. We're Italian, so it's funny. That those kind of old, right, Mom? What's some of your other old ones you watch?
It's not real. Two and a Half Men. I mean, it's a little on the dirty side, but it's funny.
And Friends is good. I thought it was dirty. I thought Friends is okay.
But I watch old movies.
I think that's great. I think that's great because there's such a message. The funny part is that that in the old days, at least to me, because I'm coming from we're all in different places, we're all different ages, and that's the beauty of this is that I think that they made the men. You know, I'm a big old fashioned in the way Pat is a king. Pat's in charge, that kind of person. Unless it squishes me to nothing land, I go, Pat's in charge. And the men look like idiots sometimes on the sitcom. That bothers me a lot because in our home we honored Pat. Here comes Daddy. We waited, and then when he walked in, we all ran. I gave him a hug. They all ran to him, especially when they're little. Even they're big. Dad walks in. They go, "Would you like to say the blessing?" They honor him, and honoring is so important in our home. So that's one way it changed in sitcoms to me. But I don't know. I do watch one show, the news. You know, I like the five because it's five people talking, like there's three of us as a conversation. It's not so much the news as the personalities. That's what I do like. I like Kelly Ripa. If you're listening today, I do watch your show as well. Well, I call it Kelly Ripa. It's Kelly and Ryan. Come on, June, you say something. What do you think? Television.
Go ahead.
No, Eleanor, I want to hear what you had to say because I didn't have anything to say.
What was the question?
The question was, what did June think about how TV has changed through the ages? You want to say anything else, Mom, about how it changed?
Oh, in the old days, the TVs had good stories. And they didn't start like overnight. They've started in the beginning and they went through the years. And they were such good stories and good actors and actresses. And I don't watch any of the new shows, but when I do, I can't understand why they're on TV. There's nothing to them. Either that or they're. I watched one show one time and the guy swore every time he said something. He swore, and I turned that off real quick. But I still watch all the old movies and the old shit TV shows. I don't think there's any of them that I like. Now I like Friends, and that's fairly new, I think.
I'm kind of old because I was on Popular. I lived in Augusta, and that was like I don't know, at least 15 or 20 years ago, but still way newer than, the new shows. We're not trashing TV, y'all who watch this, but we just think everyone's at a different place. And sometimes you want to just not have, for me personally, violence bothers me, June and Mom. They bother me. Any murder or violence, that bothers me. I don't want to watch that. I think that's one of the reasons that our children are fed so much in their mind through the little games they do like this with, which I have no idea. And then the violence, I'm an old fashioned girl, so that does bother me if I have to be afraid because I watch something, what I'm saying, either of you, violence bothers you. Does it bother either of you? The violent shows.
I
Well,
won't watch
None.
them. What about you, June?
You know what? I was thinking, Eleanor, about how you see these things and how I have been conditioned to just accept it.
Wow.
And that's the difference between 90 and 70. That's 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we have been desensitized, Eleanor, to these things, and we should not have accepted it. Something I loved about your generation, Eleanor, y'all didn't put up with it. You spoke up, you let have it about it, you did something about it, but we've just kind of let things go so far downhill, we don't even know how to get back uphill again.
That's true.
And that causes the children, the teenagers, to be violent. They see it on TV and it looks so easy.
Yes.
That causes a lot of problems, and I don't know. I just don't watch any of the new. Well, of course, my husband's been gone 20 years, and so I don't have to watch anything violent like a lot of men like that better than women do.
I don't think Dad watched TV a lot, though, did he? Did he like TV? Or no, did he like TV too, Mom? I said TV going so that she felt like someone was in the house when she was alone, but did Dad like TV, Mom? I don't know, I really don't.
Love TV.
I love TV, okay, what did he watch? I don't know, this is a quiz show, okay. Do you know, if you want to share, you can. Do you want to pick up on another one of the subject? You wrote down so many things to talk about, but that is true. Some men like different shows. My husband likes sports. We're a football family, that I will watch. We like football. We gather as a family and do that. Now, this generation is all sports, Mom. It is. From my age and June's all the way down to like the 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds. That's the kind of thing they do like to watch. So what would you like to talk about, June?
Emily Post.
Okay. Probably book out.
My mother had her book and we followed those rules, Emily Post rules, and it made me feel secure on how to act when I was out with people that I didn't know. Eleanor, did you do those things, Emily Post? Did you follow any of that?
Oh yes, I read that book several times and looked things up.
And
that's so great.
Tell me what you learned, Mom, from Emily Post. I have a book myself because Aunt Shay's a dear friend. She gave me the hat that I just put on. She gave me a book on Emily Post. Was from her mother. It's very good.
We didn't have any relatives at all, so we hardly ever had anybody over for dinner.
Okay.
And my mother set the table right, but I checked to make sure that it was done right because I didn't know whether she knew or not. And we just didn't have company. So everything was just family, relaxed. And I looked up a lot of things. I mean, every time I went somewhere, I looked it up. And
Dr. Spock was big too in your generation, Mom, right? Dr. Spock for parenting, and then Emily Post for etiquette. And in her family, though, June, to be fair, in order to accommodate just the family, Mom had 5 siblings: Uncle Joe, Uncle Raymond, Uncle Sammy, Uncle Nicky, and her sister Marion, and her 6 people. And they all had a lot of kids, and together they had like 25 grandchildren for Grandma. That was a big crowd if you had the family Sunday dinner. So that was enough for Grandma. Grandma didn't speak English, and I didn't know that she didn't speak hardly any English. I thought she just, to me, I don't know. So she didn't speak. So Mom and the kids they grew up fast. Grandma, you grew up fast to be like, you had to help, explain things or maybe.
Well, I wanted to help. I've always enjoyed working.
Mhm.
And I would, instead of going out to play,
Ooh.
I would ask my mother what I could do to help. And I remember washing windows and ironing. I used to iron my brother's white shirts. In those days, the men wore white, the boys wore white shirts to school.
Mhm.
And I would iron 20 shirts a week. I think I started at 10 or 12, very young,
Mhm.
but I enjoyed working. And to this day, I enjoy. Now I can't do anything, but until I could, I enjoyed working.
She can still do stuff, but she sets the table for us and she gets proud of that. And then I had her one time open you can do more than you think. She just can do more than she thinks, but she likes to relax right now. She's 96, but she does really well. She's not unhealthy. Like, she doesn't use a walker. She doesn't, there's no handicaps other than the fact that mom does have cancer. And you would know it because she acts like she doesn't. And it's got some side effects in the air of like some doctor errors, but that we won't share that. You say us go to the bathroom a lot with their bladder cancer. So June, what about you? What were we talking about again? We family dinners or?
I want to talk about ironing. Eleanor, how much did the iron weigh that you
It was, I don't know, it was
ironing your
electric. It was very light. It was an electric iron.
an electric iron?
And it didn't weigh very much. And
Mine on the stove and get you'd
Say
burn
it
the
again.
Ah, so what'd you do, June? How'd you do the ironing? How
we
was-
finally got an iron that was like Eleanor's. And I like to iron. Like Eleanor, I like ironing. I do like it.
But I never ironed in my life. I never swept a floor.
I never ironed after, when my poor husband, when I got married, I never wanted to iron another shirt. So I would take a spray bottle and put the shirts on a hanger and spray all the wrinkles off, and not iron. I never ironed again after I got married.
That's
what happens. Seasons, like the cooking for me, the season, there's a time for every season, and some seasons you want to do one thing and some seasons something else. Do you iron, June?
yes. Now, very rarely. I have a couple of white shirts, but everything is
Yeah.
you don't have to iron. You can get the things that don't have to be ironed, and I definitely do that. But I liked ironing. I actually, when I was young, took it on and did it for people. I did ironing to make money because I had the 4 kids, and I did ironing to do that. But
my last thing I choose, Jude, let's start with the Depression, because Mom knows a lot about this, and she has some interesting stories about the Depression. I like to learn history, so I think that's an interesting subject as we move on from ironing to being the fire of the Depression, where in the Depression time, people sacrificed a lot, and then this generation, Mom's generation, didn't want their children to sacrifice as much as they did. So they raised their children and they helped them because they didn't want their children to have they want children to have everything. A lot of people do that nowadays. Want their children not to have to do what they did to struggle along, but actually the struggle is actually a good thing sometimes. But go on, Mom. Want to share Depression or June? I don't care who.
During the say what?
Depression. The Depression.
The Depression. I didn't feel a depression because being Italian, my mother loved to cook, and I don't remember ever going without a big meal. And she could make something out of nothing. And when people talk about during the Depression and they went hungry, I can't understand it because pasta was 10 cents a pound in those days. How could you go hungry, And but I don't remember the Depression because like I said, we always had food. I didn't have any clothes.
There you go. That would bother me.
I mean, my mother made my clothes.
Wow.
And I made the girls' clothes until Ellen resented.
Did Grandma really sew? I didn't know that. See, I always learn so on these shows, June. I do. Did Grandma sew? I didn't know that.
Yeah, a little bit. Not very much, very little.
Hey, Mom loved to sew. Mom loved to sew, curtains, and she sewed a lot of my curtains in many of my houses. She liked to sew clothes, like prom dresses. She even took a job to make extra money because she always wanted to have, a little mad money. And she took a job doing alterations, right?
Yeah, I used to do alterations.
So
I remember one man came and brought me some curtains to be hemmed. and they were nylon or something that didn't iron flat.
Ooh.
And I altered all the curtains that he brought me. And then I went to iron them. And I didn't know you were supposed to put a wet paper towel over them or whatever. I tried to iron them, not knowing what to do. And the poor man picked up his curtains, and I wondered what he thought when he got home, because all the hems showed. And but I was always trying to make extra money, either by sewing or baking something, doing something. What did you do, June, to make money?
You know, Eleanor, I did ironing. I did garage sales, and I did the one thing that I did was I went to get a license in cosmetology.
Mhm. That was
And
good.
so I from there, Eleanor, I did hair in the house, and then the kids complained about everybody coming in the house and having all the people there. And so I went to work for Adrian Arpel. You remember that? Where you
Yeah.
got the facials in the department stores. I did that.
Yes,
Then,
yeah, I do remember. Yeah.
okay. And then I became a coordinator for a face cream company called La Prairie, which was expensive as get out. But I did my picture was in the store when you came in, and I would do all these wealthy women, because it was like $300 for a jar of cream. One time when on Saks Fifth Avenue, this woman came in and she said to me, she says, you know what, can you tell me about this cream? And I sat her down and showed her everything. And then she looked at me and she said, oh, I'll take a whole set for me and for my sister, which came to $5,000. Called from New York to see what it was, but I really loved that job. That was one of my favorites. I enjoyed making people look better.
That's very good. So what's your favorite job, Mom? You did a
My
lot of
favorite
jobs.
job was my catering. But I wanted to say I went into Sibley's, which was our biggest department store, and I bought a whole set of makeup. I forgot what the name of it was now. It was very well known, and went home and broke out all over. Had to bring everything back and tell them I couldn't use it because I'd break out, you know. But my favorite job was catering. We bought this big mansion, big enough to have big weddings. And it was very run down when we bought it. And so we remodeled it, made every room beautiful, and I was very busy. Every Saturday we had weddings. I'll never forget my oldest granddaughter's wedding, April 29th. I passed up 3 weddings that day for her wedding, and I'll never forget that. And but I loved what I was doing, and I did it till I was 80.
I know, that's amazing. Do you think, June, that's amazing? I think it is.
I am so amazed at her memory and everything. It's been a blessing for me to have her as a friend.
I know. I think
I feel the same way about you, June.
I do. You're a good friend, and the thing is, she enjoys phone conversation, and I try to explain to her that people don't usually get on the phone that much anymore. You will get on the phone and chat, and she loves that, and she finds that we'll do that. I used to call all my girls every day. It was 4 girls every day, and they thought I was calling because of me, because I needed that call, but I was calling for them. And so I don't call that many people anymore. You know that, Jude. I love talking on the phone, but it eats my time. Is what the whole thing about busy. When she starts saying everybody's busy, I go, yeah, because no one else is doing the same thing she wants to do. So she has a lot of phone friends, right, Mom? You have a lot of phone friends. And so she likes, if y'all are out there listening and you watch the show, which I send to all the cousins, please give her a call. She likes that. June, what do you want to go with now? We have all these questions. We want to know what more about those were the days, my friend. I thought they never end.
How was it? Did you have vaccinations when you were
Good question.
young? Did you have a doctor? Was there a doctor's office or a
Well,
place
the
that,
doctor came to the house,
there you go.
and I remember somebody spilling coffee on my hand,
Ooh.
and the doctor came to the house and he put butter on it, which you shouldn't do because butter keeps cooking it. And I'll never forget that he came to the house, but he went from everybody's house to house making doctor calls. You know, he didn't have an office at the time. And I remember before television,
Okay.
where you had a radio,
Mhm.
and there were 6 of us, and we all sat in a big circle looking at the radio. The radio was on the table, and we all sat around looking at the radio. And my brother came in one day, we were watching Intersanctum. I'll never forget that. And he
Interesting.
came in and said, boo, and everybody jumped.
What was Inner Sanctum, Mom? Inner Sanctum. Was it what is it? What kind of, do you know what you?
Intersanctum was like a spooky
Okay.
mystery show. Were you around? You weren't. It was gone by the time you got
No.
there.
No, I just
No.
wondered.
That video shows. I love them.
You love those.
Only Shadow knows. Remember,
Wasn't there Hitchcock in our generation? Like Hitchcock, well, I think Hitchcock, I go, oh Lord. Okay, so there. Scary shows. And did it scare you, Mom, or no? The show.
Yeah, I was scared, but you know, I had 4 brothers.
That's right. Did they do anything to you, your brothers, Mom? Like, did they play pranks on you? I mean, I'm just off the cuff here because my brothers were the ones that played pranks on me. Did your brothers play pranks on you?
No, my 2 older brothers kind of took care of us. You know, my parents were there, but they looked out for us. And my younger brothers, Raymond, and Nikki, and they kind of looked, there were only 2 girls, they kind of looked after us.
June didn't have brothers, right? Did you, June?
no brothers and sisters.
But she has
No.
Claude and her boys. Do your boys play pranks on you? It's really cool. You know, somewhat.
Always tease. Well, let me just tell you the latest thing that
Okay.
the squirrels, because I'm a gardener, are getting into my pots and killing my plants and eating them and all these things. And I want to kill the squirrels, but I've told God I'm not going to kill them.
Okay. Annie Oakley is not going to kill them.
Every day, all of them put squirrels on their pages for me and put my name on
Oh,
it.
this is funny. Just to be sweet. I know my brothers were different my brothers did different kinds of things. That's, well, you know, boys will be boys. And what can you say?
Right.
We had a family where there's 2 girls and then 2 boys and then a 10-year span, then Julie. So it's like 2 different families and that, and no one really, well, the boys did jokes. I mean, I don't think we did it online, but there were lots of jokes and you never knew what was going to happen next. And so kept you on your toes and boys will be boys. So that's neat though, June. You like the squirrels coming your way. And then
I was just thinking about something else that Eleanor probably remembers is the air conditioning when it first came in and we first had air conditioning. It was in churches and movie theaters and nowhere else. Do you remember that, Eleanor?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And I remember when we didn't ever have air conditioning when I lived at home, when I was single. And the first time we had air conditioning was coming to Aiken, South Carolina, and the house had air conditioning. And that was the first that was Bill's first job. And that was the first time we ever had air conditioning.
we didn't have
Yeah.
air conditioning in New York, even when you lived there, Mom. And I don't think we had air conditioning in New York when I was a kid. We went and lived there. You don't think we're from New York. Mom is from New York, but she lived in the South most of her life. And the weather was different there in New York than here in Georgia and South Carolina. So we didn't have air conditioning in the house, I don't think. But hey, we might have, and I didn't notice because I like to be hot. Mom likes to be hot as well. like the warm weather. So that's good. What other things came about from the era, Mom, from your generation? What other things were introduced? Because like Grandma used to say, I told her this last show, she used to say that she was on the horse and buggy, Grandma, not my mom. And she was amazed at cars. So what were you amazed at that changed so much besides like traditions and people? But what changed so much in the era, like irons or cars?
The cars, I remember when somebody on our street got the first car and all the neighbors came out and all the men were surrounding this one car. And I remember my father saying, let me try it. Let me see if I could drive it, you know. And that was the first car that came out in our neighborhood. I mean, I'm sure cars had been around forever and ever, but I must have been 10 at the time. And that was the first car. And I remember telephones, you know, we didn't have telephones growing up.
What'd you
And
have?
one neighbor had a telephone and people would call her and she'd have to come out and find us to tell us that we had a telephone call. And then she would charge us and charge us 20 cents every time we got a phone call.
Oh, she's the only
And
one.
of course, it didn't take long for everybody to have phones after that.
That is funny, Mom. That's interesting. That's what I'm talking about. Those are interesting facts. I had no idea. There was phone booths. Do you remember phone booths, June? I remember them, phone booths, and those are obsolete.
And I was naughty too. I used to take it and I could stick it in one end of the phone and stick it up against the metal and get a free phone call.
Okay, then
Oh,
you won't find a phone, you won't find a telephone booth anywhere. My friend who's lucky, Roger, my friend's who's sick lucky, she's a friend of mine that in the old days, her husband she had 8 kids, mostly all boys, 2 girls. And they had a phone booth in their home because Roger was a doctor and he made calls and there was no way. So that's the only phone booth I've seen in the latter days is a phone booth that was in their home. So Mom, tell us some interesting facts more that came about, like things that have changed that you could see, like the iron was plug-in, but June's a different kind, and the phones have changed, the cars have changed. When did you get your license?
Icebox. Remember the icebox?
Yes.
Didn't have refrigerators, and the ice man would come in and bring in a thing of ice, and you put it in your refrigerator. And I mean, you put it in your icebox.
Mhm.
And then they didn't have washers, electric washers. And my mother and father, on Mondays, my mother would, well, I guess it was Sunday because my father was home. And they would take the washer from the closed-in porch we had behind our kitchen. And my father and mother both had to push this washer in and plug it into the sink. And that's how my mother would wash clothes, and she'd put them through the wringer. And it was an all-day job just to wash clothes. So we didn't change our clothes as often as other people do today. Like
I change my clothes often, Jude. I change and I'm different events and I change again. And used to be, I'm not gonna say their names, some son-in-law started a tradition. Every time Ellen changed her clothes, we take a shot. So it was a great tradition for holidays, kept son-in-laws happy. And I like fashion. So has fashion changed since you were young, guys? Since I was young, it's changed totally. Fashion.
Yeah, the color. Eleanor, you remember when there wasn't any color in clothes? It was black. They were all black. I know the farm people did the black. I'm not sure.
I don't remember that. I don't remember wearing black. I wear it now.
I said, it's look like a funeral or black. No, she wears black now. What was it like for you, June? I don't know. I did my generation mini skirts.
I was thinking about the difference between when I go to the farm. I was probably about 6 years old or younger. And they didn't have cars. They had horses and buggies. Everything was like going back in time. Cars were in the cities, but they weren't in the country. And and I remember that that it was totally different in the country. It was way behind everything. But the coolest thing that I remember is at the farm when the crops came in, every woman in that town was in my family's kitchen, and they were all canning together. They brought all their things together and they did all of it together, and they talked and they laughed, and I thought that was so cool, because and there wasn't one woman left out because she didn't wear the right kind of shoes. Nobody cared what anybody wore then. It was just helping each other survive.
Sure. Wow, it's times have changed. Those are the days, my friend. The good points and the bad points of the day. We're going to do at the end of the show. Y'all can say one thing that was better about the old days and one thing that's worse about the old days, and then the new days as well. But we only have time for like 3 more quick subjects. I'm making this an hour show, y'all, because to me, it's interesting history. It's very interesting. Mom will tell me a lot about the presidents she experienced living with the president she lived. She lived in Aiken, but she didn't live with any presidents. But the presidents she knew of in her generation, it's very interesting history. And I liked a lot of the subjects we talked about. We have like time for 3 more, so each of us can pick a subject. Who wants to go first?
You go first, June.
I do. I'm gonna tell the spot. Actually, I scare people.
One of the things I'd like to say is about politics and religion.
That's good, you. That's what I was gonna say. I'll pick another one now.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna do. It's interesting.
And I think that my main thing on that was everybody pretty much liked everybody unless they were a jerk.
They think
Nobody-
that's smart.
Right. And nobody cared what anybody's politics
Right.
or religious beliefs were.
We didn't talk about them, did we?
No. You had children, I had children, I had a husband I wanted to kill, and you gave me sympathy, Eleanor. And that was mattered to me. We've gotten a lot more complicated, and that's what I want to say that needs to go back to the way it used to be. But some things, being critical of each other and
Judgment, that's a biggie in politics.
that I can do without. But that's my thing. How about you, Eleanor?
Well, we didn't even know what our best friends were as far as politics go. We just never discussed them. And you didn't know whether people were Democrat or Republican. You just didn't talk about things like that. And religion, all I knew were Catholics. So I didn't know much about religion because everybody I knew was Catholic.
You would ask, did you, when you was in the north, you don't ask no religion, are you? I didn't know what my friends were. I really didn't know, June. We didn't talk religion in those days. I mean, I'm the 69-year-old, so I'm in the 60s thing at the end of it. And we didn't do it either until now I do, but we didn't. But Mom and I are different teams. And I can say who's on what team. And we talk politics and we hug at the line. We go, okay, let's like this. We agree, disagree, or that's a no zone. We're not going to talk about that because I really do feel like it divides the country. Do you think it divides relationships, divides the country? It divides everything. Once a country divided against itself will fall. A person divided, fall. That's scriptural.
Right.
So what do you want to say about that? Unity is everything, but not that I'm going to go along with your beliefs or your things you want to do. But I'm going to hug at the line. I try to find common ground, and then I'm going to go like, you know what? I'll pray for you, and under my breath, I'm saying that. They're saying the same thing back at me. That's where the judgment comes in. Let's look at the good points of each party, each religion. Let's try to agree. You don't have to be swayed over. You don't have to do what they're doing, but at least try to keep peace in the innermost heart. June.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think what has happened to us is that back when we felt safe, there were things that we should have seen that we didn't do anything about. And I think that that's the bad part of that time, that we trusted too much and just let some of these politicians and doctors, all the different things that have just gotten out of control. And now I think instead of blaming each other, we need to do something about it. And that's what I think. I think we need to, because of my faith, I want to say that we need to pray for it, but we also need to see what part we played in allowing these terrible things to happen.
Sure, that's very good. That's good. Do you want to add anything? Well, you need.
I haven't followed politics too much anymore. And I just lost interest, I guess,
Mhm.
and don't even know what to do about it, except we should do something about it.
That's right.
Politics have gotten out of hand.
She has two great stories that make her share every time because I think they're so impressionable. One is about her Christmas year and Christmas, and the other is about what President Roosevelt, which is her favorite, Eleanor, really, is her name, and what Roosevelt did to make it a better country. So take note right now, because Eleanor's going to not close us off, but tell this great story about what a president should look like and the humanness of people that have a heart for the people. It was really Eleanor, though. Roosevelt. Go ahead, Mom.
I loved Roosevelt. He's the only president I really paid attention to. And I just loved him. And his idea of food stamps was that everybody had to work to do something before they got any money to live on. And I'll never forget that you either painted a building or you fixed a road, but you had to do something. They just didn't just give you money.
Mhm.
And I was very impressed with that. That was Roosevelt's idea. And then for some reason, nobody followed through on that. Now, if you need money, they just give you money, I think. But I don't pay much attention to politics anymore.
How about the one story about when it was Christmas and your dad was in the hospital or sick? Tell that story. Because I always find, and Judy says it every show I make her, but I love this story. This is impressive. Go ahead.
When my oldest brother was 10 years old,
Uncle
and
Sammy.
my father was in World War I, and he was in the hospital at Christmas time. And my brother at 10 wrote a letter to Eleanor Roosevelt telling her that his brothers and sisters were not going to have a holiday because my father was in the hospital and he was in the army. And Mrs. Roosevelt sent each one of us a big gift. I'll never forget, I got a doll with all the clothes.
Oh.
And my brother got a train set, and each one of us got a big gift, and I'll never forget that.
And then the newspaper came over and did an article on the family, and they each were.
Yeah.
I have the article this day. I'll send you a copy too, because I found it impressive. Sorry, I sent it to you. I found it very impressive. So now we have our two more subjects. So I'm gonna pick on this because I know what Mom's gonna say. Getting old ain't for wimps, right, Mom? Getting old is hard. So then people all need to be sensitive to older people because getting old is difficult. Because Mom is used to being a caterer and cooking for hundreds of people, and sometimes you have challenges in old age, like her shoulders are not what they used to be. So do you want to share some advice to people for the elderly, like wisdom from Eleanor?
I have advice. Drop dead. Don't live to be old.
No, I told you live to 120. Look at her, isn't she beautiful?
You're just in the way, you're in everybody's way.
Not in the way. You have, don't you think, June, there's never a time we don't have purpose is everything. I keep telling her purpose is everything. You wake up and you have to have a purpose, even if your purpose means just like getting dressed and looking presentable, or maybe your purpose is sending letters. If you're able to write, Mom can't write with her arm, her shoulders are broken and they didn't get fixed because they had a little bit of PT, physical therapy, pain totally. And so there's something you could do. Sometimes people do letters to people that are in jail or bake cookies when you don't have your arms working. There's other things you can't do with your arms. There's always something you can do with your brain. you could do things like, I told her she get a telephone line, Judy, tell me how to do this if you know later, where people can call her and she can give advice. She's wisdom from the old lady. I got the title. She loves that title. It's her title of her book that we haven't typed yet. But it's not, there's something you always can do. You never can do nothing. That's what we encourage you in the government, like to do something to make our country great, right? There's something you could do. Some people can pray, some people can do posters, y'all can vote, but tell what you think about old people, Mom. There's some positive things they do. One lady at 100 years old got her degree. Now that's impressive. I don't want my degree at 100. What do you think? June, you tell first, because I said too much. Go.
So Ellen always tells me that at
Perfect.
96, she
That's
wants
right.
to do something, and I
No, I don't
can't
want you to help
see,
me.
I
I want you to
can't
help
hear.
you. No, but I want you to have purpose, Mom. It's not for me. I can do it. You set the day for me. I can set it myself. You have to have purpose in order to live. Dad had will to live. Will to live is everything. Wake up and you go like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna walk around the block. You know, will to live is everything. Maybe it's not for me that I want you to do something, because there's nothing you could do for me at this age. You already had all the years and now you're at an elderly age, and no one can, you don't give up on life and say, I can't do anything. Purpose means you have a purpose to get up in the morning. What do you think about that, June, before she says she
Well,
what you say?
Right. Her purpose is to call and talk to June.
That's right. There you go. That's a purpose. So she's had that phone line, wisdom from the old lady. That's good. Oh, that's good, June. That's good. Because there's always
Get very excited with that.
that's right. Oh, that's good. No, purpose is everything, though. I meant it's good purpose. But is
We
it
should call each other more often.
you wake up with a reason to live, a reason to be, instead of saying, all I could do is sit and watch TV. Purpose is everything. And Mom was not, she really was driving until she worked till she was 80. Then she had her house and she decorated in her 80s. And then she got no new, and then she ended up having to go to Florida. And then for whatever reason, now someone's told her she's old. I still think of her as young. Look at her, she looks stunning. So purpose just means you have something you wake up for.
I had broken my right shoulder,
Mhm.
and that's why I had to go to Florida. I couldn't do anything on my own.
You can do
You know,
plenty.
when you lose your right arm, huh?
We watch, you can do plenty. You make your bed. She makes your bed every day, June. It's pretty impressive. I don't even make my bed every day. Sometimes I'm too busy to make the bed. But you have purpose, Mom. We all love you. That's what we put you on the show to liven you up and say that everyone has a purpose, right? June's turn.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But one of the things I love about Eleanor
Yeah, good. Thank you.
is her truthfulness.
That's right. Oh, that's right.
And this is this is how I feel. And she allows me to have my truthfulness.
That's right.
So I can tell her everything. Eleanor is an amazing listener. She hears what you say. Let me tell you.
That's hilarious. That's good.
One of the things that happen, the way you communicate, it changes between each generation. So we have to learn how to communicate pretty much 10 years with the different generations.
Mm.
And I find Eleanor is amazing at that.
That's
And
good, Mom. That's good. That's a compliment. That's huge. I do think it's a huge compliment. But you know what else I think too is when she feels comfortable with people, if she's a one-on-one friend and she feels comfortable with June to let her hair down and talk and you go back and forth, that's great. And that's amazing quality, Mom. So I think you have done amazing with your life. And my thing is that when you wake up in the morning, you have a reason to live, that it makes you happy. It makes you more alive. And that's what call June every day. I don't know. Yes. I don't have an answer for this. I was just trying to make conversation three-way, but go ahead, June. You finish off with your last points of what's the good part about being those are the days, what's the bad part, and what's
the good part about is of being older is you've been there, you've done that, and help people that have that need it, like the young women who've been told that they're stronger than men and they're not, that kind of thing. You can share from your time.
That's right.
And that they're okay. the bad thing is my knees hurt. My back hurts, my everything hurts, and I have to learn how to make myself feel better. And so that's what I do. I strive to take in vitamins or to make my life better. And that's it. That's the good part and the bad part.
And what about this generation? What's the good part of this generation we can learn from? And the bad part, this generation, we could just sort of say, y'all need to listen up to the older people.
You know, this generation, I love them. I know
They don't cook.
they just take charge. I mean, they don't have you can't do this and you can't do that we did. So they're free. Like my granddaughter,
Right.
Caroline, is in New York working, and I don't know where she is. She's probably in Europe. I mean, she takes off and she's jumping off of cliffs
Oh, wow.
into all, and her mother's saying, oh my God, you know, but she's free and she's able to go and be, and I love that. And we're needed to help them to have some boundaries and harnessing in their life with the spiritual parts of their life. But other than that, you know, they're amazing. I just am so amazed with them.
And you're there also to help the parents that have to let go, let the bird fly, and
Yes.
to fly far enough that they have their freedom, and then close enough they come home to see their parents. So Mom, same question. What do you think is the best part about your generation, and what's the worst part about your generation?
The worst part, I think, is in those days, the men did not help at all. I mean, they came home from work and sat in a chair and didn't help at all. And I'm amazed when I go to Ellen and Julie's house, and the men are working just as hard as the women, getting the food on the table and cleaning up and everything. I don't know about your husband, June, but my husband didn't do a thing except come home and watch television.
He did come
And the best thing about our generation was that the neighbors were friendly.
That's good.
And you didn't even have to be related or know a neighbor. But like when I was growing up, if you did something wrong, which I never did, but if the boys did something wrong, any neighbor could tell them not to do that. You know, they could stop them, which you can't do today. But the neighbors were really neighbors in those days.
Yes.
And I think that was good, because you could go anywhere in anybody's house. If it was raining or something, you could go in anybody's house. You can't do that today.
Well, my kids had that with the community, but tell me this, Mom, what's the best thing about like the younger generation, like say my kids' age, your grandkids' age, what's the best thing about the younger generation?
I'm impressed with your children's age, because they could work those computers and I mean, all that stuff that they do, you know, it's even the little, I remember Sean being 2 years old. Remember, Ellen? He was on the computer.
Sean never left the computer. He's still on it. Thank you, Kendra, for helping him to get off the computer once in a while. Yes, I do know that. Josh used to climb the bookshelf to put the VCR in, because I had no clue about electronics. So that's the good thing, Mom. They're advanced in electronics, which is a good thing, but then it's a bad thing, is it takes away from the people. And what do you think? What's the best thing is they know how to do a lot. What's the worst thing about the not having fellowship because they're so busy doing the computer, right? Is the worst thing about, I think
it took the place of conversation, the computer.
Texting. That someone once told me, June and Eleanor, that the reason why people invented texts and emails is so that you could answer back at your convenience. And I thought that was so rude. I go, man, someone texts me, I want to write back, but you get yourself so busy, you don't have time. It's almost like a self-centered generation that way. Someone goes, "You get my text?" I go, "Well, I'm not answering the phone or doing the text." One friend said to me, "Oh, by the way, I don't call you because I know you're not going to answer the phone." Because when you get yourself too busy, then you're too busy to do that. But see, when you have some things you have to get done, like a job, then you have to get it done. But you have to understand that. I learned that from one of my daughters, that she answers her texts and her phone at the end of the day because she works. And when you work, you can't just stop and pause and do that. So everything's changing. Those are the days. I like the fashion, if you all want to know. I like the Gatsby, the hats. My mom knows this. I like her generation. I go, everything looks good. I watch the shows that are once in a blue moon, and it's always about, do you see that fur? Look at their hair. Look at, I like that part. And then the other, because nowadays women, let's face it, some they don't really care about what they wear. And I'm not cutting down blue jeans. I wear them like once a year because I'm not blue jean. I'm more of a person that likes to have, earrings on, and I don't know, I'm just that person. And then the other thing is that you can't change the world. I would learn this from Father Michael. You can't change the world. Sometimes you can barely change yourself, and you have to accept the things you cannot change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference in it. And every generation has their positives and negatives. So let's learn a lesson from the wisdom from the old lady Eleanor. We applaud her. June, she did great. And let's learn from her. Listen to this again. Send it to someone that really needs to know that we learned from the generation before us. We may not always look like they did or act like they did, but there's always something to learn. That's what wisdom is. Learning from someone that's already gone the path before us. So any other sum ups? And we are closing. We're closing time. Yeah, one.
I want to say something. I don't understand today. I know they meet on the computers, but how do men and women meet each other? In our days, they had dances.
Okay.
And we had Coke dances where there wasn't any liquor, it was just Coke. And you met people at dances.
Okay.
The churches would put on the dances. But today, I don't understand how they could possibly meet each other unless they go to college. But how do kids meet each other today?
Do you want to answer that?
Does anybody know?
I do, but go ahead. What do you think, June? From your perspective.
Well, they have sites where you go in and you put your picture on there and what you like and what you don't like.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Seriously, they do. Oh my God, June, thank you.
Yeah,
Where
and
did they put these pictures?
It's up there, Bob.
it's dating.
CatholicDate.com is one of them. I know, because right.
Yes, they're dating websites, and what they do is the men will go in and look at the women and send them a text or an email and say, would you like to go out? And the first thing that they do is they'll meet for coffee, and then like each other, they'll go out after that. It's a totally different world, Eleanor.
But to be on the positive end, actually, one of my friend's daughters, who's very, very, very much a holy person, the person I'll tell you later, she met her husband on one, and it was Catholic.com days or whatever it is. And we are all blessed by the way God did that. But now everyone doesn't get the same experience. Some people don't put the truth on the website. I don't know. I've never been on one, but someone's put a different picture. I put a picture of me when I was 10 years younger, and then they meet you and they go, okay. So it's not my favorite way, but when I saw the experience for one of my friend's daughters, I go, God can use anything. He worked anything out for the good. So I would never like to do that myself. Would you be a fan of that?
No.
I would not be. Would you have?
I guess I never would have met anybody.
No, you look great, Mom. You look. You're not gonna do an experiment. Put you on now and see what calls you. Your phone friend. Your phone friend. Phone friend. She's gonna meet lots of people at her little senior living place. I hope.
Oh yeah.
The house is always open, and we'll have someone. You could pay for a chef to come in and cook every day, because that's really their biggest thing, is that she wants to eat, and we don't eat the same way. As June knows how I eat. June fixes a ton of food. We're there. I'm like, oh my word. I don't do food. However, I do cheese and crackers and once in a while. So we're thankful for you, Mom. You did an excellent job. Don't you think she did good, June?
Eleanor, I love you.
Oh, June, you did great. I mean, you really have command of the English language. You did really good.
You did. God bless us. And we're going to sign off now. This is Ellen Mongan from Wow Mom hosting the show. Wisdom from the old lady. Her book will be out one day soon if we ever get someone to type it, and you'll be able to read more wisdom. And so may God bless you, and everyone that's listening, please send this to a friend. We're going to close off. As soon as I close off, guys, we're leaving the set, because if we talk at all, it films it on the show. So she'll say, so they'll let their hair down, like I'm let my hair down, and then goodbye. God bless y'all. See you later. June, see you later. Love you, Mom. Love you, June, and stopping the
Bye.
show now.